Lieutenant Frank Morris stared at his monitor with growing confusion. The signal had appeared 3 days ago, faint at first, but growing stronger each hour. It wasn't random cosmic noise or the typical emissions from celestial bodies. It had pattern. It had intent. "Hey, Diane, can you take a look at this?" he called to his colleague across the control room. Dr. Diane Russell, NASA's lead communications specialist, walked over and leaned in to examine the waveform. Her eyes widened. "That's not natural. Whatever it is, it's artificial." Within hours, the quiet monitoring station transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Senior officials arrived from Washington, and encryption experts worked around the clock to decode the mysterious signal. On the 4th day, they succeeded. "It's an invitation," announced Dr. Russell to the room full of government officials and scientists. An invitation addressed to Earth's apex species from something calling itself the Galactic Council. The news spread quickly through scientific circles, though public announcements remained cautious. Debates erupted about which species would be considered dominant on Earth. Most assumed humans, though some scientists argued for other possibilities based on biomass or evolutionary success. "Whatever these aliens are, they must recognize our technological achievements," said General Paul Warren. "No other species on Earth has built cities or sent objects into space." A week later, without warning, 3 sleek vessels appeared in Earth's orbit. They emitted no heat signature and seemed to defy known physics. Global defense systems were placed on high alert, but the vessels made no aggressive moves. Instead, a smaller craft detached and descended toward Earth. Military jets scrambled to intercept, but the craft moved with impossible speed and precision, easily evading them. It landed not at the United Nations or any major capital, but in an ordinary field outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Dr. Lisa Winters received the call at 3 a.m. As one of America's foremost xenobiologists, she had anticipated being consulted if alien life ever contacted Earth. She hadn't expected to be woken up and told to pack for immediate transport to Ohio. "What exactly am I dealing with?" she asked the military escort as their helicopter approached the landing site. "They're humanoid, roughly our size, but with bluish skin and 4 arms. They speak something that sounds like clicking mixed with whale song, but they have devices that translate." "And doctor?" The officer hesitated. They seemed to be ignoring all human officials. The landing site was surrounded by military personnel, scientists, and media kept at a distance. Dr. Winters was escorted through 3 security checkpoints before reaching the central area, where the alien craft sat gleaming under floodlights. The alien representatives stood beside their vessel, tall and elegant with skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved. They carried small containers and appeared to be collecting something from the ground. "Those are cockroaches," whispered a stunned entomologist standing nearby. "They're collecting cockroaches." Dr. Winters approached cautiously. One of the aliens noticed her and activated a device on its wrist. A soft, slightly mechanical voice spoke in English. "We apologize for bypassing your communication networks. We find direct contact with the dominant species more efficient. I'm Dr. Lisa Winters, representing humanity. We are Earth's dominant species." The alien skin rippled in what might have been amusement. "There appears to be confusion. Our extensive analysis of planetary biomes indicates these creatures," it gestured to the container of scurrying cockroaches, "are clearly Earth's most successful and resilient life form." A second alien stepped forward. "By council metrics, these organisms demonstrate superior adaptation capabilities. They survive radiation levels fatal to your kind, function without centralized governance, and have maintained their form for hundreds of millions of years, while your species is barely established. The Galactic Council formally recognizes these resilient creatures as Earth's apex species and welcomes them to the interstellar community," announced the first alien. The human officials stood in shocked silence as the aliens carefully sealed their containers of ordinary cockroaches. Dr. Winters felt a cold realization wash over her. Humanity had finally made contact with an advanced alien civilization, only to be deemed less important than household pests. "This," she said quietly, "is going to be complicated." The world erupted in outrage when news broke that Earth's cockroaches had been declared the planet's apex species. Stock markets plummeted. Religious leaders called emergency meetings. Social media exploded with memes showing cockroaches wearing tiny crowns. Dr. Lisa Winters watched from her temporary office at NASA headquarters as the alien representatives carefully placed their cockroach specimens into climate-controlled habitats aboard their ship. The insects scurried about, completely unaware of their newfound diplomatic importance. "So they're just taking them?" asked Captain Samuel Hayes, the military liaison assigned to the first contact team. He was a practical man with short gray hair and a perpetual expression of mild concern. "Apparently, they're establishing a diplomatic delegation of Earth's representatives," Dr. Winters replied. "Those cockroaches will speak for our entire planet in galactic matters." The president addressed the nation that evening, trying to project calm while explaining a situation no administration had ever prepared for. "We are formally challenging this designation," she announced. "Humanity will not be represented by insects on the galactic stage." Behind the scenes, the challenge proved more complicated. The Galactic Council had left a small delegation on Earth to monitor the situation, led by an alien who called himself Ambassador Zintor. His blue skin shimmered when he spoke through his translation device. "Your appeal has been noted," Zintor told Dr. Winters during their first official meeting. "However, the Council's classification system has been refined over millions of years. It is rarely mistaken." Captain Hayes leaned forward. "With all due respect, Ambassador, we've built civilizations, written symphonies, and walked on our moon. Cockroaches just exist." "Precisely," replied Zintor. "They exist without destroying their habitat. They survive without technology. They have remained unchanged for 300 million years, while your species has barely existed for a fraction of that time." Dr. Winters studied the documents Zintor provided. The Council's evaluation matrix prioritized survival probability above all else. Cockroaches could survive radiation levels that would kill humans instantly. They could live without food for months. They could survive underwater for 30 minutes. "But they have no consciousness, no culture," she argued. "Those factors are considered luxuries in galactic survival terms." Zintor replied with a gesture that might have been sympathy. "Very nice, but ultimately unnecessary." Meanwhile, news channels showed footage of the Council's orbital station, now positioned above Earth. Reports confirmed that the cockroach delegation had already been installed in a special habitat aboard the station where Council members could consult with them. "How exactly do they consult with bugs?" Captain Hayes asked during a late-night strategy session. Dr. Winters shook her head. "I'm not entirely sure. I think they've developed some kind of communication technology that interprets basic biological responses as preferences." The United Nations convened an emergency session where, for perhaps the first time in history, every nation agreed on something. This classification was unacceptable. A joint resolution authorized Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes to travel to the Council's station and formally challenge the designation. The night before their departure, Dr. Winters couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, looking up at the stars where the faint outline of the Council station was just visible. Her phone buzzed with a message from the President. "The future of human dignity rests on your shoulders. Don't let cockroaches speak for us." Captain Hayes arrived at dawn, his military uniform exchanged for the newly designed Earth diplomatic attire. "Ready to argue with aliens about why humans are better than bugs?" he asked with a wry smile. Dr. Winters nodded, clutching her tablet filled with humanity's achievements. "I never thought I'd need to prove why Mozart is more important than a cockroach's ability to survive without its head." As their shuttle prepared for launch, news cameras captured the historic moment. Earth's first official representatives were heading to space, not to explore, but to demand a recount. The journey to the Galactic Council's orbital station took 6 hours aboard the alien shuttle. Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes sat in seats designed for beings with very different anatomies, trying to appear dignified despite their discomfort. "Remember," Captain Hayes whispered as they approached the massive structure, "we represent all of humanity now." Dr. Winters nodded, clutching her tablet containing Earth's greatest achievements. The station grew larger through the viewports, a gleaming wheel-shaped structure with spires extending in all directions. The shuttle docked smoothly, and the airlock hissed open to reveal a cavernous docking bay, filled with vessels of countless designs. Creatures of all shapes moved purposefully through the space, some floating, others crawling, many walking on varying numbers of limbs. A slender orange alien with 4 eyes approached them. "I am Trill, your assigned guide," it said through a translation device. "The Council acknowledges your request to file a formal protest regarding species classification." They followed Trill through wide corridors, where gravity seemed lighter than Earth's. Aliens of all descriptions stopped to stare at the humans. Some pointed, others made sounds that might have been laughter. "Are we that interesting?" Captain Hayes asked. "You are the first species in 800 cycles to protest a classification," Trill replied. "Most accept the Council's assessment." They entered a vast chamber with a curved ceiling displaying what looked like a star map. Dozens of different alien species gathered in small groups, engaged in conversation. "This is the Hall of Species," Trill explained. "All recognized Apex representatives gather here between council sessions." Dr. Winters noticed a familiar container on a raised platform, the Cockroach habitat from Earth. Several aliens were gathered around it, watching the insects with apparent fascination. "Those primitive life forms have survived 3 extinction events," commented a tall, insect-like alien to its companion. "Impressive resilience." Captain Hayes clenched his jaw but said nothing. Trill led them to a desk where a bulbous creature with tentacles manipulated holographic displays. "These humans wish to file a Class 4 protest regarding species designation," Trill announced. "Unusual," the creature bubbled. "Form 375B is required, along with comparative planetary analysis, evolutionary trajectory mapping, and consciousness verification." Dr. Winters accepted a tablet-like device with constantly shifting symbols. "How do we complete this?" "Return it within 3 rotations with supporting evidence," the creature replied. "The Council will review your case if the preliminary requirements are met." As they struggled with the alien bureaucracy, a shadow fell over them. Dr. Winters looked up to see a massive being with rock-like skin and glowing eyes. "Humans," the being rumbled. "I am Xarlock of the Draven Collective. My species also faced classification challenges." "Were you also ranked below your planet's vermin?" Captain Hayes asked bitterly. "Worse. We were classified equal to our world's equivalent of moss," Xarlock said with a sound like grinding stones that might have been laughter. "I may be able to assist your appeal." Xarlock explained that most new species faced unfavorable classifications initially. The Council's system favored natural resilience over technology and intelligence. "The appeal process is designed to be difficult," Xarlock said. "It tests whether a species can set aside internal differences to present a unified case." "How long do we have?" Dr. Winters asked. 30 of your Earth days," Xarlock replied. "During which time, your cockroaches will represent your world in all council matters." A commotion drew their attention across the hall. Several council members were placing small objects into the cockroach habitat and observing the insects' movements. "What are they doing?" Captain Hayes asked. "Voting procedures," Xarlock explained. "The cockroach's movement patterns toward certain objects are being interpreted as your planet's position on resource allocation treaties." Dr. Winters watched in horror as the random scurrying of cockroaches potentially committed Earth to unknown agreements. "We need to work fast," she said. "Every minute those bugs represent us is a minute too long." Xarlock nodded solemnly. "Then let us begin." The challenge to prove humanity's worth starts now. Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes spent the next 3 days working alongside Xarlock to understand the Council's evaluation system. They converted a small meeting room into their base of operations, walls covered with notes and diagrams explaining the complex criteria used to rank species. "It's worse than we thought," Dr. Winters said, studying the documents Xarlock had provided. The Council ranks species on a 20-point system across 5 categories. Cockroaches outrank humans in nearly every metric. Captain Hayes examined the scores with growing concern. Radiation resistance: cockroaches 9.3, humans 2.1. Reproduction efficiency: cockroaches 9.7, humans 3.4. Environmental adaptability: cockroaches 8.8, humans 5.2. The criteria were established millions of years ago, Xarlock explained, his stone-like fingers gesturing to the charts. They favor natural biological advantages over technological achievements. The only category where humans scored higher was problem-solving capability, but even there, the gap was smaller than expected. Cockroaches scored surprisingly well for their ability to navigate complex environments and find food in challenging conditions. "This makes no sense," Captain Hayes protested. "We've built civilizations, cured diseases, created art. The Council prioritizes survival potential above all else." Xarlock replied, "A species that can survive without technology is considered more successful than one dependent on it." Dr. Winters paced the room. "What if we proposed additional criteria? Factors the Council hasn't considered, such as," Xarlock asked, "consciousness depth, cultural development, planetary stewardship, moral reasoning." She typed rapidly on her tablet. "Things that make humans truly unique on Earth." Xarlock's rocky features shifted into what might have been a smile. "Now you're thinking like a successful appellant. The Council will consider new evaluation metrics if you can demonstrate their relevance." They spent the next day gathering evidence from Earth. Scientists worldwide contributed data about human brain complexity, cultural achievements, and technological innovations. Artists sent examples of humanity's greatest creative works. Philosophers outlined moral frameworks unique to human thinking. On the 7th day, they presented their proposal to the Council's Evaluation Committee. 3 stern aliens of different species who oversaw classification disputes. "We propose adding these 4 criteria to our evaluation," Dr. Winters explained, displaying their carefully prepared presentation. "Each represents a measurable advantage humans have over cockroaches." The committee members communicated among themselves in a series of clicks and whistles before the leader responded. "Your proposal has merit," the alien said, "but you must provide quantifiable measurements for these abstract concepts. How do you measure consciousness? How do you quantify culture?" Captain Hayes stepped forward. "We've developed metrics based on neural complexity, behavioral diversity, and creative output. We can demonstrate each with empirical evidence." After hours of debate, the committee agreed to consider the additional criteria if humans could demonstrate measurable advantages in objective tests. Back in their makeshift office, Dr. Winters received troubling news from Earth. The Cockroach delegation had apparently approved a mining agreement allowing Council species access to rare minerals in protected areas. "How can insects approve anything?" Captain Hayes demanded when they confronted Ambassador Zintor. The cockroaches were presented with multiple options. Zintor explained calmly. Their movement patterns indicated a preference for the mining arrangement. "They're just looking for food and dark spaces," Dr. Winters protested. "That's not consent. By Council standards, it is sufficient," Zintor replied. "Perhaps if your species were recognized as dominant, you could negotiate directly." As they left the meeting, Xarlock pulled them aside. "Something isn't right," the rock-like alien whispered. "I've reviewed the Council archives. Earth's evaluation contained unusual scoring patterns." "Meaning what?" Captain Hayes asked. "Meaning," Xarlock grumbled quietly, "that someone might have deliberately manipulated the classification process. The question is why. Dr. Winters looked back at the cockroach habitat, where council members continued to consult with Earth's official representatives. We need to find out. Fast. Dr. Winters watched with growing concern as more council members gathered around the cockroach habitat. The insects moved randomly inside their enclosure, yet their movements were being interpreted as Earth's official positions on galactic matters. They've just approved another agreement, HFY reported, returning from a council session. The cockroaches agreed to allow a council research team unrestricted access to Earth's oceans for specimen collection. Captain Hayes slammed his fist on the table. This is absurd. They're bugs running toward food scraps. Precisely, said a soft voice from the doorway. They turned to see a slender, purple-skinned alien with large eyes. It bowed slightly. I am Zelna, records keeper for the council. HFY suggested I might assist you. Dr. Winters welcomed the newcomer. We believe something is wrong with Earth's classification process. Zelna nodded. I have reviewed the evaluation data. The assessment of your species versus these cockroaches contains several statistical anomalies. The alien produced a holographic display showing complex data patterns. Note these scoring variations. They fall outside normal parameters for evolutionary comparison. Meaning what exactly? Captain Hayes asked. Someone manipulated the results, Zelna stated simply. Dr. Winters felt a chill run down her spine. Why would anyone do that? I examined recent resource allocation requests, Zelna continued. 3 days before your planet's evaluation, Council member Dravkor filed applications for mining rights to minerals found primarily on Earth. Arlok's rocky face darkened. Dravkor is Ambassador Zintor's business partner. The pieces suddenly fit together. If humans were recognized as Earth's dominant species, they would have veto power over resource extraction. But cockroaches couldn't object to anything. They're using the cockroaches to gain access to Earth's resources, Dr. Winters realized aloud. Captain Hayes stood up. We need to present this evidence to the full council immediately. Not so simple, Zelna cautioned. Accusations against council members require substantial proof and multiple witnesses. We need more evidence. That evening, Dr. Winters received permission to observe the cockroach consultation process. She watched as Zintor placed different colored objects in the habitat, then recorded which objects the insects approached first. The green markers represent agricultural access rights, Zintor explained smoothly. As you can see, your representatives clearly prefer this option. Dr. Winters noticed something odd. Before each vote, Zintor sprayed something near certain objects. The cockroaches inevitably moved toward those items. What are you spraying? She asked casually. Merely environmental stabilizers, Zintor replied quickly. Too quickly. Later, she managed to obtain a sample of the spray while Zintor was distracted. She brought it to HFY, who had access to the station's analysis equipment. It's a chemical attractant, HFY confirmed after testing, specifically designed to appeal to Earth insects. They had caught Zintor manipulating the cockroach votes. Meanwhile, Captain Hayes discovered shipping manifests showing Dravkor had already sent mining equipment toward Earth, dated before the classification decision was even announced. They planned this from the beginning, he said grimly. The next day, they discovered another troubling development. Several of the cockroaches in the delegation had been fitted with tiny neural implants. What are these devices? Dr. Winters demanded when she confronted Zintor. Translation enhancements, Zintor replied smoothly. They help us better understand your representatives' needs. They're mind control devices, HFY whispered after examining one, capable of directing the insect's movements. That night, Dr. Winters, Captain Hayes, HFY, and Zelna gathered their evidence. They had documentation of the rigged classification, the manipulated votes, and the unauthorized neural implants. We have enough to challenge not just our classification, but to file formal charges against Zintor and Dravkor, Dr. Winters said. We must move quickly, Zelna warned. Tomorrow the Council votes on final approval for Dravcor's mining operation. Once authorized, it will be much harder to reverse. Captain Hayes checked his Earth communication device. We've received something that might help. Every nation on Earth has contributed to our presentation for tomorrow. Dr. Winters smiled for the first time in days. Then let's show the Council who really speaks for Earth. The Grand Council chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Floating platforms accommodated various gravity needs, while atmosphere bubbles surrounded species requiring special breathing conditions. At the center, 12 senior council members sat in a semicircle on elevated seats. Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes stood on the speaker's platform, facing the assembled galactic dignitaries. The cockroach habitat had been placed on a pedestal nearby, its inhabitants scurrying about obliviously. This emergency session will address Earth's classification appeal, announced the council leader, a tall being with crystalline features. The humans claim they are their planet's apex species, contrary to our assessment. Ambassador Zintor stood at a nearby platform. The council's evaluation was thorough and impartial. These insects clearly demonstrate superior survival traits. Before we begin, Dr. Winters said, we request that Council member Dravcor recuse himself due to conflict of interest. Murmurs spread through the chamber as Zelna stepped forward, presenting evidence of Dravcor's mining applications and his business relationship with Zintor. The crystalline council leader examined the evidence. Council member Dravcor will observe but not vote on this matter. A tall, gray-skinned alien with multiple eyes rose in obvious anger but complied. Captain Hayes activated their presentation system. We will now demonstrate humanity's qualifications as Earth's dominant species. The chamber darkened as a three-dimensional display filled the space. It began with scenes of human achievement, great cities, space exploration, artistic masterpieces, all compiled from contributions sent from Earth. Impressive technology, commented one council member, but the evaluation criteria focus on inherent biological superiority, not artificial constructs. Dr. Winters nodded, which is why we propose expanding the criteria to include factors relevant to advanced species. The display shifted to show human brain scans alongside cockroach nervous systems. Humans possess neural complexity that enables abstract thought, moral reasoning, and creative innovation, she explained. These traits, while not improving immediate survival, create long-term adaptability through cultural evolution. Captain Hayes continued, we can change our environment instead of simply surviving within it. We reshape our world rather than merely existing in it. The display showed Earth's ecosystems, highlighting how human intervention had protected endangered species and restored damaged habitats. We acknowledge our mistakes, Dr. Winters said. We've damaged our planet, but we're also the only species actively working to repair that damage. A council member with feathered tentacles leaned forward. The cockroaches would survive even if humans destroyed the environment completely. How is that not superior? Because mere survival isn't the highest achievement, Dr. Winters replied. A species that can reflect on its impact and change its behavior demonstrates a higher form of adaptation. The presentation continued, showing examples of human cooperation across national boundaries, international space programs, global health initiatives, and cultural exchanges. Furthermore, Captain Hayes added, we have evidence that the cockroach votes have been manipulated. He played recordings showing Zintor using chemical attractants to direct the insect's movements, then presented the analysis of the neural implants found in several cockroaches. Outrage spread through the chamber. Zintor protested loudly, but was quickly silenced by the council leader. These are serious allegations, the crystalline being stated. Dr. Winters delivered their final argument. The council's criteria were established to identify species capable of meaningful participation in galactic affairs. Cockroaches cannot communicate, cannot understand complex concepts, and cannot make informed decisions. She walked to the cockroach habitat and gestured toward the insects. "These creatures are remarkable survivors. We respect their evolutionary success, but their very existence in modern times depends on human environments. They thrive in our cities, our structures, our waste systems." "What are you suggesting?" asked the council member. "That cockroaches aren't truly independent of humans," Captain Hayes explained. "Their current population size and distribution are directly linked to human civilization. Remove humans, and cockroach numbers would drastically decline." The chamber fell silent as the council members communicated privately through their neural networks. After several tense minutes, the crystalline leader spoke. The council chambers reopened after 3 hours of deliberation. Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes stood at attention as delegates filed back to their positions. The cockroach habitat remained on display, its inhabitants now mostly hidden beneath egg carton pieces. The crystalline council leader rose, light reflecting from its faceted surface. "After reviewing all evidence and testimony, this council has reached a decision regarding Earth's species classification," it announced, voice resonating through the chamber. "We acknowledge the validity of the human appeal and the evidence of procedural irregularities in the original assessment." A wave of murmurs swept through the assembled aliens. Ambassador Zintor's blue skin darkened with what appeared to be anger or embarrassment. "The Council hereby reclassifies humans as Earth's apex species with immediate effect," the leader continued. "The cockroach delegation is officially disbanded." Captain Hayes squeezed Dr. Winter's hand as relief washed over them both. "Furthermore," the leader added, "Ambassador Zintor and Council member Dravkor are suspended pending investigation into evaluation tampering and unauthorized neural manipulation of Earth organisms." 2 security beings escorted the disgraced officials from the chamber. Dravkor protested loudly, while Zintor maintained stony silence. The leader turned to address Dr. Winters and Captain Hayes directly. "Earth is formally invited to join the galactic community with proper representation. You may select qualified individuals to serve as your world's voice in council matters." As the formalities concluded, various alien representatives approached to congratulate the humans. Some expressed genuine admiration. Others seemed merely curious about the newest addition to the galactic community. Zarlok rumbled with what sounded like laughter as they exited the chamber. "What's so amusing?" asked Captain Hayes. "You should know," Zarlok replied, "that this mistake happens with most newly discovered planets." Dr. Winters stopped walking. "What do you mean?" Zelna joined them, purple skin glowing softly. "The Council often initially recognizes a non-sentient species as dominant. It's something of an unofficial test." "A test?" Captain Hayes asked incredulously. "To see how the actual dominant species responds," Zarlok explained. "Some react with violence, others with division. The truly advanced species respond as you did, with unity, evidence, and rational argument." Dr. Winters processed this new information. "So this whole ordeal was a test of our maturity as a species." "Partially," Zelna said, "though Zintor and Dravkor certainly took advantage of the situation for personal gain. That was not part of the standard protocol." As they prepared to return to Earth with the news, Dr. Winters noticed several council members collecting cockroach specimens from the now decommissioned habitat. "What are they doing?" she asked. "Many find your insects fascinating," Zarlok explained. "They're taking some as pets. Quite the exotic status symbol to have a former apex species in one's collection." The journey back to Earth was filled with planning. Nations worldwide would need to select representatives for the new human delegation. Trade agreements would need review. Educational exchanges would begin. When their shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere, they saw something unexpected. Cities across the planet were illuminated with celebratory lights. Somehow, word of their success had preceded them. At the landing site, a crowd of officials, scientists, and media waited. Dr. Winters stepped out first, blinking in the bright lights of cameras. "How does it feel to have saved humanity's status in the galaxy?" a reporter called out. She considered the question carefully. It feels like a beginning, not an end. We've proven ourselves worthy of recognition, but now we need to prove ourselves worthy of membership. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Dr. Winters noticed a cockroach scurrying across her kitchen floor. Instead of reaching for a shoe, she watched it with newfound respect. "You almost became our planetary representatives," she said to the insect. "Maybe we could learn something from your resilience after all." As Earth began its integration into the galactic community, something fundamental had changed in human consciousness. People looked at the night sky differently, knowing they were no longer alone. Nations that had fought for centuries found common ground in representing humanity to the stars. And in an ironic twist, conservation efforts for cockroaches increased worldwide. After all, they had inadvertently helped humanity unite and take its first true steps into a much larger universe. The outline I provided was for a 7-part story, but I'm happy to create an 8th part as a bonus epilogue. Here's part 8. 5 years after Earth's reclassification, Dr. Lisa Winters stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, Earth's first permanent diplomatic outpost in space. Through the massive viewing window, she watched shuttles arrive from dozens of worlds for the 5th anniversary celebration of Earth joining the Galactic Council. "Still hard to believe it all started with cockroaches," said Captain Hayes, now Admiral Hayes, as he joined her at the window. His uniform now bore the insignia of Earth's Diplomatic Defense Corps. "Sometimes I wonder if we should thank them," Dr. Winters replied with a smile. Earth had changed dramatically in 5 years. The revelation of alien life had initially caused panic, then curiosity, and finally unprecedented cooperation. Nations that had been enemies for centuries now worked together on joint space initiatives. The first human-built faster-than-light ship was nearing completion in orbit around Mars. "How's the galactic biology exchange going?" Admiral Hayes asked. Dr. Winters brightened. As head of Earth's Xenobiology Department, she oversaw the careful introduction of beneficial alien organisms to Earth and vice versa. "We've successfully adapted the Lyranian healing moss to Earth conditions. It's already saving thousands of lives in burn treatment centers," she explained. "And several worlds are very interested in Earth's pollinators. Apparently, bees are quite exotic by galactic standards." A soft chime indicated the arrival of more guests. The doors slid open to reveal Xarlock, now Earth's official advisor to the Council. The massive rock-like alien moved carefully in the human-designed space. "The Council leader will arrive shortly," Xarlock grumbled. "The anniversary gift is prepared." Dr. Winters nodded excitedly. After much debate, the Council had agreed to share certain technologies with Earth, including advanced atmospheric purification systems that would help reverse climate change within decades rather than centuries. "Any word on the Zintor situation?" Admiral Hayes asked. His appeal was denied again. Xarlock replied. He and Dravkor remain banned from Council activities and Earth space. Their conversation was interrupted by a small commotion near the food table. A group of young students from the new International Space Academy had discovered something interesting in the decorative terrarium. "Dr. Winters, is this really one of the cockroaches?" called out a young woman. Dr. Winters walked over to the elegant habitat where several cockroaches lived in a carefully maintained environment. A small plaque identified them as descendants of the original Earth delegation. Not the originals, but their offspring. She explained to the students. "We keep them as a reminder." "A reminder of what?" asked one boy. "That appearances can be deceiving," she said, "and that sometimes being underestimated can be an advantage." The station commander announced the arrival of the Council leader's ship. Everyone moved toward the main reception area, where representatives from over 100 Earth nations waited to greet their galactic visitors. As Dr. Winters took her place in the receiving line, a news reporter approached for a quick interview. "Dr. Winters, 5 years after the cockroach incident, how would you say Earth has changed?" She considered the question carefully. "We've learned humility and unity simultaneously. We discovered we're not alone, and that we're stronger together than apart. The cockroach classification was initially seen as an insult, but it became the catalyst for the greatest period of human cooperation in history. The massive doors opened to reveal the crystalline council leader and its entourage. Earth's representatives stood tall and proud. Later that evening, after the formal ceremonies concluded, Dr. Winters found herself back on the observation deck, watching Earth rotate slowly below. Admiral Hayes joined her, carrying 2 glasses of champagne. "To cockroaches," he said, raising his glass in toast. "To unexpected beginnings," she replied with a laugh. Below them, Earth shone brilliantly, now home to not just humans and cockroaches, but to humanity's newfound place in a vast galactic community. The planet that had once seemed so large now appeared small and precious against the backdrop of infinite stars. Stars that were no longer just distant lights, but destinations and homes of friends. And somewhere in the Council's archives, Earth's original classification remained preserved, the planet where humans and cockroaches began their journey to the stars together, even if one species needed a bit of a nudge to get started.